I'm here at the City Council building where Mayor Kelly will actually address questions related to the migrant situation. But the city says Chattanooga is actually a hub where drivers can change out and switch out. And as another bus came today, we're learning more about where these migrants are coming from and where they're going.
And these people are being put in situations where they might be harmed. I mean, we're not getting a lot of communication. We're not getting a lot of accurate news, and that's concerning.
From this video, you can see earlier this morning, a migrant bus was spotted dropping off passengers at the Circle K on East Brainerd Road. Jonathan Wallmarker, who was there, says he was concerned about where the migrants were headed next. He spoke with one of the bus drivers.
Yeah, he said he was stopping here and that they couldn't go any further, and so what they were doing is they were just taxiing them all off to the airport.
CPD officers stood by to help them safely get to their next route. According to an officer, these are legal migrants seeking asylum. The bus contained a mix of migrants from different countries, heading to southern states like Georgia and Alabama instead of DC and New York. A bus was found last week in Rising Fawn, where Dade County deputies found passengers attempting to walk 30 miles away from their destination.
It's rather heartbreaking to know that they're just dropping these people off without a clue as to where they are.
And on Friday, we spotted charter buses with migrants in Lookout Valley headed to the East Coast from Texas. And as more of these buses appear, immigration attorney Terry Olson emphasizes that buses sent by Governor Greg Abbott aren't properly following immigration law.
It should not be allowed to go from state to state to state. I mean, this really should be, these individuals must be placed into immigration enforcement.
Here at Lookout Valley, buses parked behind this fence right here, dropping off immigrants at the Comfort Inn and Suites Hotel. And it is in question if they're being transported legally. Buses are transporting migrants from Texas to DC and New York. Chattanooga happens to be the stop for some, but others were spotted in Dade County, Georgia.
The sheriff is 100% against illegal immigration, but in the same sense, human beings are still human beings. And, dropping people off with no plan or nothing like that, that's just not, no resources. That's just not something that we like to see.
According to the city of Chattanooga, the migrants on the buses from the border are in a protected legal status. Late this evening, the city of Chattanooga told News Channel 9 the migrants have been screened by the Department of Homeland Security and are legally seeking asylum.
When you enter at the border, ICE, immigration enforcement, will interview the international, asking them what they need to enter, meaning asylum, etc. And then thereby ICE will interview them and give them a court date. And then ICE will actually determine if they're going to house them at a site or if they're going to be let into the U.S. and reside with a friend or even family member.
Rabbi Hannah Spiro from a Jewish synagogue in D.C. teamed up with other churches to provide meals to the migrants when they get off the bus. She spoke to our sister station in D.C.
It's almost too much for me to think right now about that next step, because just supporting people on that first day off the buses is massive.
Local government officials in D.C. dealing with the influx of migrants there call it a federal issue that needs federal funding to solve. For right now, volunteers are filling that gap.
It feels like a really unsustainable effort to just have these volunteers who are playing hooky from their day jobs coming on their off time to do this and just spending their own money.
Just before we went live, and just even a couple of seconds ago, take a look right here behind me. This is the third bus that we have seen so far. Now, one thing which is interesting about this one, it's a completely different company. This is the Win. We can see this green bus right here. However, one thing does remain the same. That barcode right there on the bottom left-hand side of the window there of this vehicle. Now, earlier today, as you already mentioned, Latricia, Chattanooga Police Department were here and they were on the scene. And also an employee here at the Comfort Inn and Suites here in Lookout Valley did confirm that these buses are actually heading from Texas to either Washington, D.C. or New York. An employee inside tells me that it is carrying migrants, stopping here so the drivers can rest. In fact, as I mentioned right here, another bus here, but even earlier than that, a bus that we know for a fact was having migrants in the bus we were able to see. When they saw us, they drove off.
It just really makes no sense to even stop there. That was kind of really confusing to me.
The bus stops here with migrants on board, according to an employee at the Comfort Inn & Suites in Lookout Valley. And it's not the first time. They tell us bus drivers have been sleeping here while others take the next shift for the past 3 months. CPD came here after they got a complaint call. An officer on the scene says the buses are heading from Texas to D.C. or New York.
It is the same bus line. It is what they're saying is the same route, Texas to D.C. So I'm sure they're related.
A similar story in Dade County earlier this week.
He approached the bus and asked the bus driver, "Hey, what's going on?" He said, "Well, we're coming from Texas to D.C. These people wanted to get off the bus here in Rising Pond, and the sheriff was like, well, why are they getting off here? There's nothing here. There's nothing even close around here."
We tried talking to one of the bus drivers.
We just wanted to know where you guys were heading.
But no response. Several hours later, another bus filled with migrants arrived at the motel. Once they saw us,
To me, it's rather heartbreaking to know that they're just dropping these people off without a clue as to where they are.
we also saw these barcodes in the buses parked at the Chattanooga Motel. They're the same ones found on buses transporting newly arrived migrants to other cities by Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
Because Joe Biden is not securing the border, the state of Texas is having to step up and spend Texas taxpayer money doing the federal government's job.
If it's stopping for a night to sleep over and whatnot, that's fine, and if they're looking to do everything the right, correct way, I don't see a problem as long as it's followed through like it's supposed to.